As you may have noticed, my taste in games is very diverse. From platformers to shooters, from sport games to RPGs. I play it all and I usually enjoy it. Lately I played a lot of adventure games, or walking sims as they are called in the modern version. Narrative games that have their focus on a story and that have several different endings. Why? Because they are short and often polarizing. Not too long ago I came across a game called Oxenfree. It immediately caught my attention, because this game does not look like a typical walking sim. The graphics seem more like a side-scrolling platformer from the Super NES era. It's not in first person. This and the supernatural setting attracted me. So, how was it? In Oxenfree you play a teenager, Alex, who just caught the last ferry heading to the fictional Edward Island for a weekend party with her friends, Ren, Jonas, Clarissa and Nona. Ren explains that the island was once a military base and now it's just for tourists. At night no one is allowed to stay at the island, except for the only permanent resident, an old lady. But she died a few days prior, so now the teens are alone. After camping on the beach, Alex, Ren and Jonas explore the nearby caves, where it is rumored certain radio frequencies cause supernatural events. This is the start of a ghost story, and the radio is a trigger here. You can trigger events and find clues about why the island is pretty much abandoned. I won't spoil the story here any further, but for me it was quite predictable. As I said, Oxenfree looks like a platformer, but it doesn't play like one. There are some jumping, but most of the time you're talking to your friends. And yeah, you have choices here. Every dialogue starts with 3 lines above your head, out of which you have to choose one. Usually there is a nice, neutral and then a bitchy choice. So yeah, if you ever wanted to be a bitchy 17-year-old girl, here's your chance. The choices naturally affect your relationship with your friends, and thus how the story plays out. I mean, no one likes mean and bitchy friends. Sometimes it's better to be quiet, because yeah, you can also choose not to say anything. Also, the interactions with the island and the radio are important. During most of the game, you can walk freely over the island. So if you have the feeling that you missed something, you can always go back. Oxenfree looks like a classic 16-bit side-scroller at first. But then if you look a bit better, you see that it is actually a 3D game that is shaded enough to make it look retro. I'm usually not a big fan of these kind of looks, but I must say, it works for the game. But I don't think it's a strong point of Oxenfree. No, that by far is the voice acting. The voice acting in this game is one of the strongest I ever heard. Both the script and the acting is done phenomenal. The voices fit the characters and bring them truly to life. I liked it so much that the soundtrack, although competent, didn't stand out for me. But all in all, very nice in the sound department. When I was playing Oxenfree, I really didn't know what to think of it. Why? Well, I will explain. A game like this that wants to tell a story, of course, stands or falls with that story. And the story is just, well, not the strongest. On the other hand, the side stories and the little conflicts between the friends are written very well and are much more interesting than the overarching plot. This makes that you really want to hear what everyone has to say, but also that you can't skip through parts, because the downtime is the most fun. You might ask then, oh, but what's the problem? Well, the game drags a bit on after a promising beginning. It seems not to be really sure where to go from there. I didn't have much of a problem with this in my first playthrough, since there are some nice, almost horror-like moments, but when you know these are coming, excitement goes and is replaced by boredom. So yeah, my second playthrough was not very exciting, even though it was really promising. I really wanted to see what the other dialogue choices would accomplish. But in the end, the story was just not interesting enough for me to see how the other branches would end. I made 2 playthroughs and it was enough for me. Not just the mediocre story was a minus, also the fact that there's no way to make a manual save. The game saves every time when it loads a new environment, and that's it. Again, this is not a bad thing if you do just one playthrough, but since there is no option to skip the parts that you already played, boredom is setting in fast. Then maybe I saved the best for last. My biggest problem with Oxenfree wasn't that I didn't like the graphics much or got bored with the story. No. This game has a really weird, strange bug. Every so often it seems like the game would freeze up, but not completely. It starts lagging and it doesn't snap out of it. This is really annoying because the only thing that helps is to restart the game, possibly losing a decent amount of progress. I have no idea how this is possible. I mean, I played the game on a PS4 and a PS4 is definitely powerful enough to run an indie game like this. I seem really negative in this review, and maybe it comes as a surprise, but I really enjoyed my time with Oxenfree, especially in the beginning and my first playthrough. It is not the masterpiece I thought it was, and especially the technical glitch was so annoying. I just had to mention it. Be aware. So, I can definitely recommend this game, as long as you have the patience to sit through dialogues, and that you are aware that this is basically a walking sim. On the other hand, you have to not hate the retro style of graphics either. Are you still interested? Well, then try it out. Whew, a new review. This is the first of a string of reviews I'm planning to make these days. I'm also picking up some new Call of Duty games, so it's not just adventure games and walking simulators and stuff. Well, stay tuned, and if you like my video, don't hesitate to do the usual things and maybe let me a comment or two.